The silent arrival. The warning sirens echoed through the crystalline corridors of Nexus Station, their haunting melody sending shivers down the spines of every Zephyrian within hearing distance. Admiral Korath's 6 eyes darted between the holographic displays surrounding his command platform, each one showing readings that defied everything he understood about space travel and military engineering. "Confirm the sensor data one more time," Korath commanded, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had defended the Zephyrian Confederation for over 3 centuries. His blue-scaled hands gripped the railing, so tightly that small stress fractures appeared in the metal. Chief Sensor Operator Vilex manipulated the controls with her 4 arms, each movement precise despite her obvious fear. "Admiral, I've run the scan 17 times through different arrays. The results are consistent. The approaching vessel measures 15.3 kilometers in length, 4.7 kilometers in width, and 2.9 kilometers in height." A collective gasp rippled through the command center. Even the largest Zephyrian dreadnoughts barely reached 2 kilometers in length. The engineering required to build such a massive vessel was beyond their current capabilities, possibly beyond their theoretical limits. Energy output analysis? Korath asked, though part of him didn't want to hear the answer. "The readings are off our scales, sir," replied Science Officer Zenth, his normally calm demeanor cracking under the strain. "The fusion signatures suggest power generation equivalent to a small star. We're detecting what appears to be artificial gravity throughout the entire structure, maintained at levels that would require more energy than our entire home system produces in a year." The Admiral's secondary hearts began beating faster, a biological response his species had evolved during their predatory past. This was no exploratory vessel or trade ship. The energy patterns, the massive size, the deliberate approach toward their most populated systems, every indicator pointed to one terrifying conclusion. "Communications. Send an immediate priority message to the Confederation Council," Korath ordered. "Code Black Emergency Protocol. We're facing a potential extinction-level threat." The message traveled at faster-than-light speeds across the Zephyrian territory, reaching the capital world of Zephyr Prime within minutes. The Great Council Chamber, a marvel of architectural beauty with its floating gardens and harmony crystals, transformed into a war room as representatives from 47 different worlds materialized through holographic projection. Chancellor Vex Star, leader of the Confederation for the past 50 years, called the emergency session to order. Her ancient voice, normally melodious and calming, carried an edge of fear that infected every being present. "Fellow beings of the Confederation," she began, "we face a crisis unlike any in our recorded history. An unknown vessel of unprecedented size approaches our core systems. Military analysis suggests capabilities far beyond our defensive measures." The holographic displays showed the massive vessel detected by their sensors. Even as a 3-dimensional projection, the ship's enormous bulk dominated the chamber. Gasps and worried murmurs filled the air as representatives realized the scale of what they faced. "What do we know about its origin?" asked Representative Kexelon from the Outer Rim territories. Long-range sensors indicated originated from a system our charts designate as Sol, Admiral Korath replied through the communication link. "Our databases show minimal information about this region, a yellow star with several planets, previously cataloged as primitive and non-spacefaring. Primitive civilizations don't build ships of this magnitude," observed Dr. Yiltex, the Confederation's leading xenobiologist. "Either our intelligence was catastrophically wrong, or this species has advanced at an impossible rate." Meanwhile, 15 light-years away, the source of their terror moved steadily through space with the grace of a creature born among the stars. The U.E.'s Leviathan, humanity's greatest achievement in interstellar engineering, continued its peaceful journey toward what they hoped would be their first friendly contact with alien civilization. Captain, Elena Vasquez stood in the observation deck of the massive vessel, watching the distant stars grow larger as they approached the Zephyrian system. At 42 years old, she had been chosen to command humanity's first interstellar colony ship, not just for her military expertise, but for her diplomatic skills and unshakable optimism about the future. "Captain, we're receiving multiple sensor pings from the system ahead," reported Lieutenant Commander Chun from the bridge communication station. "It appears they've detected our approach." Elena smiled, feeling a surge of excitement rather than concern. After 2 years of traveling through empty space, the prospect of meeting another intelligent species filled her with wonder. "That's excellent news, Commander. It means we're approaching a technologically advanced civilization. Begin broadcasting our standard first contact protocols." The Leviathan's powerful transmitters began sending carefully crafted messages in mathematical sequences, prime numbers, and basic physical constants, the universal language that Earth's scientists believed any intelligent species would recognize as intentional communication. "Dr. Morrison, is your xenolinguistics team ready?" Elena asked. The ship's head of alien studies, Dr. Sarah Morrison, nodded enthusiastically. "We've prepared greeting protocols in 17 different theoretical communication methods. Visual patterns, mathematical progressions, even musical sequences. Whatever form their language takes, we should be able to establish basic communication within hours of contact." What the humans didn't realize was that their massive ships' every movement was being interpreted as an act of war by the terrified Zephyrians. The mathematical sequences they broadcast as peaceful greetings were being analyzed as potential attack patterns. The Leviathan's defensive shields, designed to protect the ship from space debris during long-distance travel, appeared to alien. Sensors as military-grade defensive systems. Back on Nexus Station, Admiral Korath watched the approaching vessel with growing dread. It's broadcasting some kind of coded transmissions, patterns that could be targeting data for their weapons. "Systems. The energy patterns are intensifying," Vilix reported. "It's like they're charging their systems for combat. All military vessels are to fall back to defensive positions around our core worlds," Korath commanded. "Civilian populations should begin evacuation procedures. If this vessel is what our analysis suggests, we may not be able to stop it, but we can try to minimize casualties." Throughout Zephyrian space, millions of beings received emergency broadcasts warning them of the approaching threat. Cities that had known only peace for centuries began shutting down non-essential systems and moving populations to underground shelters. The orbital shipyards went into overdrive, trying to complete any vessels that might contribute to their defense. Aboard the Leviathan, Captain Vasquez remained unaware of the panic her ship's presence was causing. The massive vessel housed not just military personnel, but entire families, scientists, artists, and teachers, representatives of humanity's best and brightest, chosen to establish peaceful colonies among the stars. "Captain, we're detecting massive energy signatures from multiple locations in the system," reported Navigation Officer Torres. "It looks like they're powering up their entire infrastructure. They must be preparing some kind of grand welcome ceremony." Elena's eyes sparkled with anticipation. How wonderful! It suggests a highly organized society with advanced coordination capabilities. Begin preparations for formal first contact procedures. I want our diplomatic team ready to present humanity's gifts of art, music, and scientific knowledge. The truth was far more grim. As the Leviathan continued its approach, every military force in the Zephyrian Confederation was being mobilized for what they believed would be the final battle for their civilization's survival. Asterisk. Fleet Admiral Zexkar commanded the largest military force ever assembled in Confederation history. Over 8,000 ships, ranging from small patrol vessels to massive Battle cruisers took defensive positions around the three most populated worlds in their territory. But even as he looked at the impressive array of firepower under his command, he knew it would not be enough. "Fleet status report," he requested from his flagship's bridge. "All vessels are in position," Admiral replied, his tactical officer. However, power analysis of the approaching vessel suggests it could destroy our entire fleet single-handedly. The weight of responsibility pressed down on Zexkar's shoulders. In his 4 centuries of military service, he had never faced an enemy with such overwhelming superiority. Every battle doctrine, every strategic principle he had learned, seemed useless against an opponent who could simply overpower any defense they mounted. "Sir, the alien vessel is slowing down," reported the sensor operator. "It's taking position just outside our primary system's asteroid belt." On the Leviathan's bridge, Captain Vasquez made the decision that would either save 2 civilizations or doom them both. "All stop. Maintain position here until we establish proper communication. I don't want to appear aggressive by moving too close to their populated worlds without permission." This simple act of caution, intended to show respect and peaceful intentions, was interpreted by the Zephyrians as something far more sinister. To their sensors, the massive human vessel had positioned itself in the perfect location to launch a devastating attack on all 3 of their core worlds. Simultaneously, the stage was set for a confrontation that neither side wanted, but both sides believed was inevitable. Breaking the silence, Dr. Lyra Zethani pressed her 4 hands against the cold metal walls of the emergency communications bunker, feeling the vibrations of the massive defense fleet's engines through the station's hull. As the Confederation's youngest xenolinguistics expert, she had been relegated to monitoring duties, while senior officers planned military strategies. But something about the alien transmissions bothered her patterns that didn't match any known weapons targeting system. "The mathematical sequences are too complex for targeting data," she muttered to herself, pulling up the alien signals on her personal workstation. "These progressions follow theoretical mathematical principles that would be completely unnecessary for military applications." Her supervisor, Communications Director Velthan, glanced over with barely concealed irritation. "Dr. Zethani, the Military Analysis Division has already classified those transmissions as potential attack protocols. Your theories about peaceful mathematics are interesting, but we're facing an extinction-level threat." But Lyra couldn't let it go. She had spent her entire career studying theoretical xenolinguistics, developing models for how alien civilizations might attempt to communicate. The patterns in these transmissions matched several of her peaceful first contact theories almost perfectly. "What if we're wrong?" she asked quietly. "What if they're trying to say hello?" Meanwhile, aboard the Leviathan, frustration was beginning to mount. For 6 hours, they had been broadcasting increasingly complex mathematical sequences, musical patterns, and visual representations, with no response from the alien civilization. "Maybe their communication technology operates on frequencies we haven't tried," suggested Dr. Morrison, reviewing their transmission logs for the 100th time. Captain Vasquez paced the bridge, her earlier excitement tempered by concern. "Keep trying, Doctor, but also begin preparing for the possibility that they might view us as a threat. Our ship is significantly larger than anything we've detected in their fleet." "Captain," interrupted Lieutenant Commander Martinez from the tactical station, "I'm reading massive energy buildups throughout their system. It looks like they're charging weapon systems on every ship and station." Elena felt her heart sink. This wasn't the warm welcome she had hoped for. "Are we being targeted?" "It's hard to tell, ma'am, but it appears their entire military is taking defensive positions around their core worlds." The captain made a decision that would prove crucial. "All departments, implement non-aggression protocols immediately. Shut down all offensive systems. reduce our energy output to minimal levels, and broadcast our peaceful intentions on every frequency we can generate. As the Leviathan's massive energy signature diminished, Zephyrian sensors registered what appeared to be the alien vessel powering down its weapon systems. But Admiral Korath interpreted this differently. "They're going dark," he reported to the Fleet Command. "This is a common tactic before launching a surprise attack. All vessels prepare for immediate combat." Dr. Zethani watched the energy readings change and felt a spark of hope. "The vessel just reduced its power output by 60%, she announced to the communications center. "That's not typical behavior for a ship preparing to attack." "Or it's a deception," Director Velthan replied coldly. "Advanced military tactics designed to make us lower our guard." But Lyra was no longer listening to her supervisor. She had noticed something remarkable in the alien transmissions, a pattern that repeated every 17 minutes, always with slight variations that followed a specific mathematical progression. It was exactly what her theoretical models predicted an alien species would use to demonstrate intelligence and peaceful intent. Without authorization, she began crafting a response, using the same mathematical principles, but with Zephyrian mathematical constants instead of the alien ones. If her theory was correct, this would prove to the aliens that the Zephyrians understood their peaceful intentions and were responding in kind. Her unauthorized transmission lasted only 30 seconds before Director Velthan noticed and cut the connection. "Dr. Zethani, you've just committed an act of treason by communicating with a hostile alien force without authorization." But 30 seconds was enough. Aboard the Leviathan, Dr. Morrison stared at her communications display in amazement. "Captain, we just received a response. It's using our mathematical progression, but with different constants. Someone over there understood our message and sent back a proper mathematical greeting." Captain Vasquez rushed to the communications station. "Are you certain it's intentional communication?" "Absolutely. Look at this pattern. They took our prime number sequence and responded with their equivalent mathematical principles. This is definitely intelligent, intentional communication from a species that recognizes our peaceful intent." For the first time in hours, Elena allowed herself to smile. "Dr. Morrison, craft a response that shows we understand their mathematical system, and add some basic pictographic representations images that should be universally recognizable, regardless of their biological structure." The next transmission from the Leviathan included mathematical confirmations, simple pictures of atomic structures, and basic geometric shapes. Most importantly, it included images representing peace hands open and empty, symbols of harmony, and pictographic representations of cooperation. Dr. Zethani, now under arrest for unauthorized communication with alien forces, watched from her detention cell as the alien vessel sent increasingly complex messages that clearly demonstrated peaceful intentions. Each transmission built upon the previous one, creating a basic vocabulary that both species could understand. Asterisk. "Director Velthan," she called out as her supervisor passed by her cell. "Look at the progression patterns. They're teaching us their language. This is exactly what peaceful first contact should look like." Despite his earlier anger, Velthan found himself drawn to the communication logs. The mathematical beauty of the alien messages was undeniable, and the pictographic representations were clearly designed to communicate cooperation rather than conquest. "Even if they are peaceful," he said reluctantly, "look at the size of their vessel. A ship that large could be carrying millions of soldiers, weapons capable of destroying entire worlds." "Or millions of families," Lyra replied softly. "A ship designed not for war, but for carrying an entire civilization to new worlds." This perspective had never occurred to the Zephyrian military analysts. Their own exploration vessels were small, efficient ships designed for speed and scientific research. The concept of building a massive vessel to transport entire populations was foreign to their experience. Meanwhile, the communication between the two species continued to evolve. Within hours, they had established basic pictographic vocabularies for numbers, simple objects, and actions. The breakthrough came when Dr. Morrison successfully communicated the concept of peace through a series of images showing cooperation between different groups. The Zephyrian response was immediate and overwhelming. Dr. Zethany, hastily released from detention and placed in charge of the communication effort, sent back elaborate pictographic messages depicting the Zephyrian Confederation multiple species working together in harmony across many worlds. "Captain," Dr. Morrison announced with barely contained excitement, "I think they're trying to tell us about their civilization. Look at these latest transmissions. They're showing us images of multiple different species cooperating together. They've built an entire confederation of different alien races working in peace." Captain Vasquez studied the pictographic messages with wonder. A multi-species alliance spanning multiple star systems. This is beyond our most optimistic projections for alien civilization development. There's more, Captain. They're asking about us, our species, our intentions, our reason for traveling in such a large vessel. Elena considered how to respond. The truth seemed almost too incredible to communicate through simple pictures, but she was committed to complete honesty in humanity's first contact with alien life. Show them what we are, she decided. Pictures of Earth, of humans, of families. Explain that our ship carries not just military personnel, but scientists, teachers, children, artists. Show them that we built the Leviathan not as a weapon, but as an ark. The next several hours transformed the relationship between the two species entirely. As the Zephyrians realized that the massive human vessel was essentially a moving city carrying entire families to establish peaceful colonies, their terror transformed into curiosity and then into admiration. The engineering achievement required to build such a vessel while maintaining the delicate balance necessary for long-term habitation impressed even their most advanced scientists. The fact that humans had chosen to invest such enormous resources in peaceful exploration rather than military conquest spoke to a level of civilization that commanded respect. Chancellor Vextar, monitoring the communications from the Council, Chambers made a decision that would change the course of both civilizations. Send a message to Admiral Korath. The fleet is to stand down from combat readiness and assume peaceful contact protocols. We're dealing with explorers, not conquerors. The final communication of the day came from Captain Vasquez herself. Through a combination of pictographs and mathematical concepts, she managed to communicate humanity's greatest hope, the desire to establish peaceful relationships with alien civilizations, to share knowledge and culture, and to explore the galaxy together as friends rather than enemies. Dr. Zethany crafted the Confederation's response with tears of joy streaming down her face. After centuries of wondering if they were alone in the galaxy, they had not only found another intelligent species, but one that shared their values of peace, cooperation, and exploration. The two massive fleets that had prepared for battle now began the delicate process of arranging the first face-to-face meeting between humans and aliens. Representatives from both species would meet aboard a neutral space station, carrying with them the hopes and dreams of billions of beings who looked forward to a future written together among the stars. As the Leviathan maintained its respectful distance, and the Zephyrian fleet stood down from combat readiness, both civilizations began planning for something neither had dared to imagine: a future where the galaxy would be explored not by separate species competing for resources, but by allied civilizations working together to unlock the mysteries of the universe. The age of galactic cooperation was about to begin. Asterisk.